welcome to episode 155 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram. I blog over at the corner of knitandtea.com, where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called the Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my hand-spun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called the Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Sunday, September 24th. Fall has officially kicked off, although our weather report has not seemed to notice. This weekend it has been almost 90 and humid both days, so it has been really gross. So, yeah. Yesterday I went over to a friend's house, a fellow knitter, and also a fellow pen and ink enthusiast, and she and I played with pens and ink all day, which was lovely. But today I am trying to catch up on my crafty goals for the weekend. I'm working on some crochet, which I haven't showed you, and I'm not going to do too much talking about this week because I don't know if it's going to come out or work. So I'm going to work on that a little bit and maybe bring it back to show you next week. I also have some spinning and knitting I'd like to do today, and general laundry and things. The week was a little bit crazy, but not too bad, and I got some crafting done, which I am pleased about. So, I hope you have had a good week, and if this is your first time joining me, welcome. I hope you'll enjoy, and if you're coming back, thanks. I'm so glad to see you, and I'm glad you're here. So let's get started. The tea that I'm drinking today, I'm being really boring. It is really hot out, so I am having iced Bigelow Mint Medley, just because I'm not a real big plain water drinker, but I like using a tea bag and drinking iced tea. So I'm having my iced mint tea in my roastery mug, which is kind of funny because roastery is our local coffee, but it's a big mug with some iced tea in it, and I'm enjoying it. And sometimes I brew hot and then pour over ice. Today I just cold brewed this. I just stuck the tea bag in ice water and left it alone for like 10 or 15 minutes, and it makes it all minty fresh. Sometimes I also do this with lemon tea, just because it makes it nice and lemony. So those are the flavors I have tried. I'm not sure it's really an official way to make tea, but I'm doing it. So there you have it. So let's talk about the knits. The first thing that I finished this week was something that I showed you last week. I had started on. It is not blocked, so it's still all kind of ripply, and I need to block it today. But this is the Baby Vertebrae. It is a pattern by, she actually got married. In the pattern it says Kelly Brooker, and then, well, I guess I don't know if she got married or divorced. I was assuming married. The pattern says Kelly Brooker, and then the name on Ravelry says Kelly Von Work, I think, or Newark. I can't remember. It will be in the show notes. I will link it appropriately. Anyway, this is the Baby Vertebrae. There is a free newborn version on Ravelry. It is just a very simple top-down raglan, mostly meant to cover the baby's back and arms over a onesie. The yarn is real fun. It's a speckled yarn. It is Hawthorn speckled from Knit Picks. I just decided to give it a try, and it is in the colorway Graffiti and has pink and yellow and black. And this came out super cute. It used up almost the entire skein. I used 95 grams of 100 gram skein. So I'm glad I stuck to the size I did. And the speckled skeins are a little bit shorter. They're like about 300 and maybe 75 yards as opposed to 400 or 425. Anyway, this came out really, really nicely, and now I just need to wash it and block it. I haven't decided if I'm just going to wash it and stick it in the dryer, because that will be the care it will receive from Mom, but I might just wash it and try and get the ribbing to lay flat. But yes, that is one done, and for the books, and this is for a second cousin of mine who had a baby this summer. I knit the 3 to 6 month size, using a fingering weight yarn, and I think I mentioned the pattern is really great because it comes for a bunch of different sizes and a bunch of different weights of yarn, so it is a definite go-to for a baby or little person gift. So that is done, and I'm very pleased. This weekend I decided that I wanted to finish something, So if you remember, this is probably over a month ago now, I knit up my peacock yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners into a sock, and then I used a contrast heel, and I think that was a Nerd Girl Yarns semi-solid mini skein, and I just had enough to do, I'll have enough to do both heels. So I finished the first sock weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and then about a week and a half ago, I tried to cast on for the second sock, and that was when I stabbed myself in the hand with my needle, and so I dropped that, and then when I pulled it back out to start again on it this weekend, I realized that I had started from the wrong end of the skein, and so that the stripes were going to go in the opposite order, and I decided I didn't want fraternal socks, so I ripped it out. I didn't have very much done. I had maybe like half an inch of the cuff, so it wasn't that much. I ripped it out and started it again, and I have one more green stripe before I am ready to place my heel. So I have made some pretty good progress with that. The plan is that I'm going to work on this crochet project this afternoon, and then hopefully put the heel in the sock tonight and get this done in the next day or two so that I have a pair of socks, and I am clearing the decks for October, which in many circles is known as Socktober. I want to be knitting all the shawls in October, but I decided that I would pull out some yarn and do a somewhat Halloween themed sock. So I have some yarn to show you for today, and then so my plan is to try and finish these in September so that I can cast on for a new pair in October without any guilt or projects hanging on the needles. So again, that is West Yorkshire Spinners in the Peacock colorway. I'm knitting them on US size zeros. I'm doing a 60 stitch sock for my small feet. I have size 6.5 feet, 6.5. And then I'm doing a slip stitch heel flap with heel turn and gusset. And I think that's all the details. So that's what I've got going on there. I did bring the blanket. I added a few more squares this week. I got reinforcements from my friend. She was so excited that I was doing a worsted weight blanket because she wanted to go ahead and clean out all of her worsted weight scraps. And so she sent me a priority mailbox full of things this week. And so I added some more squares. I am getting closer to, well, I'm almost at 30. It looks like I'm 4 short of 30 at this point. And I did the math, and I have, though I have not been doing a square a day as I hoped that I would, some days I do more than one and some days I don't do one, and I am basically like right about on track for 1 square a day. So I have 4 more to go for 30, but I got this really nice kind of mauve color from my friend. I got this green one with a whole bunch of stripes in it, and of course it's going to be boring because I won't be able to tell you what the things are anymore, at least on some of them. This was a square of Edison bulb, bright, 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 from when I knit Wes's hats. And then she also sent me some teal here, or some, teal, turquoise, and then I also used some of her pink here. So those are the squares that I added this week, and I plan to try and finish off the 4 here, and then maybe get it to 36. So then maybe another row across the top, so that I can kind of build this out in squares. So it'll be 36, and then it'll be 49, etc. So my plan is to keep going on this one. Lots of bright colors, lots of fun colors. The more stuff that I finish, the more stuff goes into the blanket. I was a little sorry that I only had 5 grams left from the baby sweater because I was going to hold that doubled and put it in the blanket. And in general, I'm not putting self-striping sock yarns in the blanket because since I need to hold them doubled, it comes out weird. It doesn't come out looking like the pattern. But I'm holding my self-striping sock yarns for another blanket that I have in mind, which I'll discuss further down the line because I could make sock blankets forever. So this is actually my worsted weight blanket. It is the Memory Blanket by, it'll come to me in just a second, Georgie Nicholson. And I have talked about what I do, and notes are on my project page for how I make my squares. So if you have any questions, just check that out. So let's talk about what's gonna be on my needles starting this week. 1 baby gift is down. I have 1 baby gift to go. As you may mention, as you may remember, I mentioned I had 2. So I picked a project and a yarn. I am going to try and knit the Wee Envelope Sweater by Isolde Teague. And it is a cute little pullover that has an envelope neck. Basically, it's two folds for the front and back that sort of overlap just a little bit. So it's real easy to get on over baby's head. It calls for sport weight yarn, and I bought this actually to use in a sweater, and then as it turned out, it was not the right color. So this is Rock and String Creations Jitterbug Sport, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it is in the colorway Deep Orchid, and it is fabulous. I love it, love it, love it. It turned out to be not the right purple to complement. I was going to use it as the edging on a sweater, and it turned out to be not the right purple to complement the purple in the yarn. So I have it, and I thought it would be a really nice color in a really nice yarn to use for a baby sweater. So that is what I'm hoping to cast on and even finish this week. This is going to be my big project for this week. So that is We Envelope in my Rock and String Creations Jitterbug Sport, and that is for a little New York baby, and hopefully then I will be done with baby gifts and done sending stuff out. So the next project that I expect to cast on my needles, if not this week, I at least wanted to show it to you before I wound it up. Zen Yarn Garden generously offered to send me one of their gradient kits for review. So I got to pick the yarn that I wanted, and they have these great gradient kits. They have a set of 3 colors, like the gradient triplet set, which is 200 yards per skein, and 600 yards total. And then they also have the gradient set with 4 skeins, which ends up being 800 yards total. And it is on their fingering weight, 100% superfine superwash merino. Each skein is approximately 200 yards. It says hand wash, air dry, and I got the Vocal Quartet colorway. So these are called gradient quartets, and the colors are really, really amazing. There's a gray with some purple and pink and blue and green, a little bit of green in it. And then I've got the hot pink, the turquoise, and the purple, and what you can't see is that they're all semi-solids, and the purple definitely has bits of blue and pink in it, so it's kind of 2 variegateds and 2 solids, and it's really gorgeous, and all the colors just pick up on the other colors. And I decided, I liked this gradient colorway, it kind of spoke to me, but I decided that what I wanted to do was a shawl pattern that I actually owned. I joined Helen Stewart. She is Curious Handmade. I joined her shawl society for last year. I actually didn't join again this year because I technically didn't knit any of the patterns that I got last year. I loved them all, but I just never got around to knitting them. Anyway, one of the patterns in there is called Aurora, after Aurora Borealis, and I thought these colors, the pinks and the blues, reminded me of Aurora Borealis. So this one is actually called Vocal, so it will be my Vocal Aurora, but so I'm going to do the Aurora shawl by Helen Stewart. It is a asymmetrical shawl. I didn't print out the pattern because it's a lot of pages. It is an asymmetrical shawl that has a bunch of different texture patterns and sort of color interplay. So that is what I am planning to do. I'm going to have to adjust it slightly because the shawl calls for 6 colors and I only have 4, so I'm going to have to mess with where I change colors and which sections I do and those kinds of things. But as you know, that doesn't bother me. I do that all the time. And I just thought it was kind of the perfect pairing of yarn and pattern. So my plan is to take pictures and wind these up this week, and then as soon as I am done with the baby sweater, get into this one, because this one is for a review in October. So that is the first of the shawls that I want to cast on, and that is what I will be doing. And thank you to Zen Yarn Garden. I will discuss how I feel about the yarn. At least right now it is super soft and I love the vibrant colorways, but I will discuss more as we get into the knit. So that is what's coming up. I will hopefully have cast that on before I see you again, although I don't imagine I'll have a ton to show you. The other thing that I brought just to show you, because I'm going to photo it and then wind it up, is I said I wanted to do some Halloween socks. This year actually do not have a Halloween self-striping skein or anything like that. But I did recently acquire this skein of Flamingo Pie. It is Dream in Color Smushy, and that it is their Flamingo Pie colorway, which has since been discontinued, but I saw one on D-Stash and had to have it because I loved it. And it is in orange with some shots of red and pink in it, and then like a little bit paler version. So it's basically a semi-solid orange, and I do not know exactly what pattern I'm going to knit, but since it is a semi-solid, I will pick something probably with texture, and these will be my orange Halloween socks, no matter what pattern I pick. I suspect I might pick something by Ann Podlesak. She's actually doing a Socktober knit along in her group. And she has had a couple sock patterns come out recently that I have been interested in knitting, and several of them are quite textured. So I'm thinking maybe one of those. I don't expect to have this cast on by the next time I see you, but when I'm gonna photo it and wind it up, so I thought I'd show it to you, and then I will come up with something and bring that back and show you in the next week or two. I guess by the next time I podcast, it is going to be, Sunday will be October 1st. So I will actually be into October and have some cast-ons. So the other thing that I mentioned was the crochet, and I'm just going to give you some brief details. I'm not going to show you until I finish. My crafting group, knitting, crochet, crafty group at work, when somebody loses a family member, the group creates a bouquet of flowers for them, which are handcrafted flowers. So felt, ribbon, knit, crochet, sew, variety. I think one girl does beaded flowers. And they create a bouquet for someone that will last longer than, live flowers that will die. And so I got it in my head that I wanted to knit, originally I wanted to knit flowers, and then I found these amazing flower patterns on Ravelry. They are crochet. They're basically for thread size crochet, like almost cobweb level crochet. I started to do it with some cobweb lace that I had and was like, nope, this is for the birds. And I went out and bought some number 10 crochet thread, which is probably around a fingering weight. It might be just a little bit thinner. And I actually found out in the process of what I'm doing that I have been wrapping the yarn around the hook wrong. I should have been wrapping it around the other way. And so the first half of what I started on today was very frustrating, and the second half is coming along much better and more quickly. Who knew, not that I'm a real crocheter, but after all this time, who knew that I was wrapping my yarn wrong? I didn't, but I figured it out. So what I am doing is trying to crochet a carnation, and I will link the pattern in the show notes. I didn't bring it to show you because I have just started the barest minimum and it took me like an hour or two. So we're gonna see if this works. There are actually 2 people in our group that we're crocheting it, that we're doing bouquets for. So my plan is to try and crank out one of these and see how long it takes, and then if I can speed it up on the second go around, maybe make a second one. The thing that drew me to these flowers are they look so amazingly they are, okay, you can tell that they're not real flowers, but they look like real flowers. So I will put a link to all of her patterns in the show notes. She's got amazing, there are a million different ones. She has hydrangeas and lilacs and roses and poppies and sunflowers and stargazer lilies, and I mean, they're just amazing, and the patterns are hugely comprehensive. The pattern that I got is 43 pages. It is full of pictures and diagrams, and I know this project sounds crazy, but you know me, I'm always up for a challenge, especially when I don't have a lot of crafting time. Like, that's when I really dig in my heels. So those are the projects that I'm working on. Like I said, baby sweater and finishing that first sock this week, and then getting into shawl and second sock. So let's have a sip of tea, and then I'll go through spinning real quick. Spinning is not going to be too exciting. The first thing that I have to show you is I finished my Wonder Woman spin from Southern Cross Fibers, and I would call this a middling success. As you remember, I showed you the braid a few weeks ago. It was a 50-50 South African Superfine Merino, 50% mulberry stripe. And I had expressed, I had asked for some advice on how to spin it because I wasn't really sure how to spin the mulberry stripe. And the advice that I got was some of what I had been thinking about. A couple people said that I should end ply it, spin it all the way through, and then chain ply it, Navajo ply. And then a couple people thought maybe I should divide the braid in half carefully, spin each half, and then try and put it together to ply it and maintain some of the color changes. I would call that is what I did, and I would call that a middling success. I have areas where the colors lined up, and so there are solid sections where the color changes were maintained. And then, of course, because I'm only human and I probably didn't do as good a job dividing as I thought I would, there are a lot of areas where the colors overlap, which was kind of what I was hoping to avoid barber pulling. I still think it looks nice. I don't know that it looks as striking as I had hoped it would, but this is it. It is red and yellow and blue, and that's pretty much what's in it. There are sections that look pink and paler blue and paler yellow, there are some that look peach and various colorways, some that look purple where the red and blue overlapped. So like I said, it is a middling success. It is amazingly soft and would make a wonderful cowl. I have not taken the yardage yet. I'm going to go between 300 and 325 based on what I wound it off to be. It is probably a sport weight, and the deal is that one ply of this is a lot of silk. So it's got some shimmer and shine, and it's super soft, and it is a fun skein. So if this is something that interests you, I will be photographing and probably putting it up. It'll probably be up in the shop by the time you see this. So keep an eye on my Instagram or go check out the shop if you think that's something you would like. As for my spin this week, I didn't get through a lot of it. If we're being honest, I'm having a little bit of spin ennui. I have a lot of things that I want to knit and work on, and my spinning wheel is not holding as much fascination for me. So there were a couple days that I didn't spin. I really love what I'm spinning. I don't know, maybe it's the change in the seasons. Maybe I'm just having a little bit of a slump. I'm still spinning quite a bit, but I'm not getting to it every day like I usually do. Anyway, what I am working on is this great Falkland that I dyed at yarn school. I'm calling it hydrangea. It is blues and purples and a little bit of pink. And this is the second half of the first 4 ounces. It's an 8-ounce bump. So basically I only have 2 ounces spun to show for myself this week, so it's not a great showing. But that is what it looks like. It is going to be kind of a mottled, not exactly semi-solid, but it's not going to be like a crazy variegate either. There are definitely small sections that are quite a bit bluer and sections that are quite a bit purpler. And so I think this is going to be a nice kind of mottled yarn. I haven't decided yet if it's for the shop or not. Technically, I have a pound of this to spin, so technically it could be enough for me to do a sweater for myself. I haven't decided whether I'm going to put it up in the shop or not. If this is something that you might be interested in, please let me know, because like I said, I'm undecided either way. But so that is what I will be working on this week. I pretty much doubt that I'm going to have it done by next week because it's 8 ounces. But we'll see, because I have 2 more ounces to spin here and then another 4 ounces of singles and then the plying. So maybe, but probably not. And if I do, I will just have finished it, so it won't be ready to go. But we'll see. So that is what I am working on this week. So that brings me to the end of the podcast. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. I hope that you are enjoying your fall, or if you are elsewhere in the world, I guess you're moving into spring. And hopefully it will cool down or warm up a little bit for all of us as we like it. And until I see you again, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!